Hello and welcome, ladies and gentlemen, as we have already breached the halfway point here for 2015's World Championship Series for StarCraft. Today we will be starting Season 3 here in Europe, at least, with our Challenger games, and I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, it's going to be great. I think Season 2 was a lot of fun, especially the grand finale in Canada.
Yeah.
We've had some really surprising results throughout the entire year of WCS, I would say. You know, Season 1 we had people like Showtime, and then suddenly we're like, what are they going to do in Season 2? Well, not all that much, but then suddenly Lilbo stepped up, was the first foreigner since Stefano to make it to the grand final of a WCS season. And I mean, I can't wait to see what Season 3 has in store for us. Like, I'm just excited. I'm looking at these matchups, and as a StarCraft fan, your heart starts to beat a little faster because it's looking great, man.
Yeah, the Challenger games are going to be certainly very good. We have a lot of very, very good games to come up with, a lot of things to be focusing on here throughout these Challenger games. Let's take a look at the 28 players that are going to be playing things out here in Europe. As across the next 3 days, we will be having some pretty cool matches across the board. Rotterdam, is there anything in particular that's really standing out for you across the 3 days?
Definitely a couple matches. Obviously, I'm really excited to see Utermo play again. It's my Dutch brother that I've just seen in Intel Extreme Masters as well. But I think almost everyone is so excited for Showtime versus Naniwa. The final best of 5 at the end of this night. Whether you play Protoss or not, you want to see how everyone's favorite villain is going to do in Challenger Season 3.
Oh yes, Naniwa is back, and he will be playing at the very end of today. That's something you got to keep an eye out for. But that does it basically. Obviously, going up into 28th and the 29th of July, the next couple of days coming along. 5 series and then 4 series to conclude things, to determine which 14 players are going to be moving on to Premier.
I mean, even in a final day, when you have a German player like Gongfu Banda again, we want to see how he does, you know, after a great run in Season 2 as well, a very surprising run. And not to forget tomorrow, where 4GG will go up against Daishi. I'm looking forward to that one, not because I'm particularly hyped about TVT, even though they can be very fun. But, you know, 4GG just kind of just picked his teammate out of the blue, and he thought it was very funny. And some people were like, I don't really think that's that funny, man. So I think there will be quite a few people that are actually on the side of Daishi, and I think that's going to be a pretty anticipated match.
Yeah, that 20-0 win ratio, that's
Poor
4GG. He is a mean fella, that's for sure. But anyway, let's narrow things down a little. Let's look at what's going to be going on today. We have quite the lineup of best of 5s on the way for you today. Plenty of action with plenty of things to talk about. We have a ton of Team Liquid representation here, and a lot of people's eyes are on, are they going to do as well as they did in Season 2 Challenger with the 5 for 5? There's 3 of them playing today.
Yeah, they've almost had some sort of magic touch when it comes to picking up players. Of course, you know, Red is super old school, but all the players that Team Liquid have picked up, they just always start performing. They start reaching new levels, or they start reaching levels that they played up once upon a time. Players like Mana, you know, after a certain point, we're like, well, what happened to that guy that was dominating in 2011, 2012, being one of the absolute best Europeans? Well, he's pretty much back too. And for Mana, of course, we can talk about that a little bit in the second match, but we already know where the finals are going to be played in Season 3. Those finals will be held in Poland. And, you know, Mana already said if he doesn't make it to the round of 16, he's going to be crying. He's going to be so extremely legitimately sad. So for him, it's such a big matchup. And against Happy, it's going to be hard, man. You know, I'm so happy that I'm just a commentator because I'm looking at these matchups and I can just feel the nerves of these guys, because it's really hard to put in words how big these best of 5s are for them. It's almost like if you lose today, some of these guys, they will boot up Legacy of the Void. They will probably not even touch Heart of the Swarm anymore. That's almost how big this is.
You've got a really good point, because this is one of their last opportunities to start accumulating points towards later occurrences. Obviously, you touched on Game 5 with Naniwa and Showtime being fantastic, but our first match of the day is indeed going to be Marine Lord versus DMC. So, Rotterdam, looking at these two, we have someone who has really risen to prominence in the European scene, especially now after his fantastic run through Season 2. And then we have DMC, who is possibly the biggest wild card of the entirety of Challenger here this season.
Absolutely. Now, Marine Lord is also a really cool story, because Season 2 was indeed finally that big breakthrough, and it was really important for him because there were already some sounds on the forum saying like Marine Lord is just another overhyped European Terran that's never won anything, because we were giving him so much love, so much praise. Other people as well always saying Marine Lord is really good, one of the best Terrans. just didn't have the results to back it up. Then finally Season 2 came around, made it to Premier League, made it through the run of 32, made it through the run of 16, eventually fell to his fellow country buddy, Lilbao, in the quarterfinals, but still, quarterfinals Premier League, you can be very proud of that. And he needed that so much. And then indeed, there is DMC. Well, James, what I know about DMC is that he really, really loves Go for StarCraft 2s, as he plays in them every single week. But other than that, I just don't know that much about this Russian Protoss.
No, neither do I, really. I mean, he does play on Team Cascade. That's one thing that we do know about him. But other than that, he is pretty much the biggest wild card here to start things off in Challenger. And obviously, you know, a lot of these players probably know him from the ladder. They probably have played him a certain amount of times and kind of have an understanding of his play style. But in a best-of-5 situation, this is his first ever series in the World Championship Series. So he could bring anything.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, I think it's going to be a little bit difficult for Marine Lord to truly figure out what he has to expect. Like, yeah, he may have seen a couple, like you said, ladder games or maybe a best of 3 and a Go 4. Early rounds, it's even best of 1. And, you know, we look at his results. We see DMC. He trades series back and forth with those well-established European pros. 2-1 victory, 1-2 defeat, you know, against the likes of, you know, players like Targa and other guys, Elaser, Bly, you know, all the regulars for the online tournaments. But there is not the same information as the DMC can have on Marine Lord. Because let's not forget, Marine Lord just played that quarterfinal against Lilbao. That is the biggest series he's ever played in his life.
Yes.
The way that he played TVP, that is his absolute best TVP. Like, it's not like, well, you know, maybe in the semifinals I'm going to play against someone else, so I'll hold back a strategy even when you're down 0-2. Like, no. Marine Lord absolutely showed the way that he loves to approach the matchup, and he gave DMC all the tools he needs to give at least to get a very good sense of what he's going up against today.
Yeah, I think that's a really astute assessment of the situation. And for Marine Lord, he is one of the guys that has put France on the map here in the World Championship Series. He is one of the guys, along with Little Bo, along with Firecake, who, especially last season, really showed that they are worth their weight in gold. And now here in Challenger, one would expect Marine Lord to come in as that big favorite, and, well, I mean, he picked DMC himself, so he's got to feel confident going in, but there is always that little edge of someone new coming into the World Championship Series, and we've seen magic happen here before.
You know, as a spectator, I love the whole picking element in Challenger. Yeah. As a player, I would hate it, because as soon as you have to pick someone, it brings extra pressure on your shoulders. True. Because you basically look at that guy and be like, yeah, I can take you in this very important best of 5 with, you know, thousands of dollars on the line, and maybe, you know, my final big run in Heart of the Swarm. We're not there yet. Legacy's still a little bit far off, but, you know, these guys, it's always all eyes on the prize, and they want to get that edge if they can, and if they have nothing to play for or not, they will start getting ready in Legacy.
Yes, they will. All right, let's jump into it. Our first game of the day here, ladies and gents, cast by myself, Kyle Laris, as well as Rotterdam, as we will get into the first. And we do have, spawning up to the top left-hand corner, representing Cascade, it is our blue Protoss. It is indeed Mr. DMC. And then down to the bottom right-hand corner, we have our red Terran, representing Team Millennium. It is Marine Lord.
Now, of course, these matches are being played online, but we have a delay. You know, we have a delay of 3 or 4 minutes, so I let both players know, like, hey, guys, just in case the series ends, don't go to Twitter immediately with your emotions of happiness or sadness, because there's a 3-minute delay. Don't spoil it for the people at home. And then DMC replied immediately. He's like, all right, I'll hold back my tears for a couple minutes. So he seems to be a little bit relaxed. Like that, if you can joke around like that in the game lobby of such an important best of 5, I think that's a very good aspect.
Yeah, I think so as well. I'm really curious to see what he's actually going to bring here. Going up against someone like Marine Lord, who technically did stave off and also fall victim to a lot of aggressive Protoss strategies in the previous season. But the thing is that he's going to be so well versed against it. Surely DMC has to throw like some really, really odd spanners in the works to try and catch Marine Lord here.
Especially, you know, Protoss versus Terran in this day and age. Protoss players have a couple of very gnarly builds. I like this pylon a lot. I started doing this myself in every single game, because that is actually the only place that the Reaper can hop into the main base. Like, it looks like a large, you know, but there's not, because there's that little element over there on the south side, so that Reaper can actually only click where the pylon is being located right now. And the best thing about this is that sometimes Terran players, now I don't expect a player as good as Marine Lord to do that, but sometimes they click with their Reaper, you know, they shift click tick, and they want to jump into the main. Then they look in their main base, and then suddenly the Reaper takes the other way around because it can't jump there. And then suddenly the Reaper runs into the Stalker and the Mothership Core, and it just dies. And that's very infuriating if you're a Terran player.
Yeah, so good foresight here by DMC to cover that. Likewise, on the other side of the map, we've had Marine Lord try and scout out if there was a proxy or something up towards the north of his natural location. So he is also like pulling no punches and making sure he's just going to cover the risks.
You know, I've seen a really cool build by Parting on this map where you can actually open up with Dark Templars and you can build a pylon on the high ground of the third base, which allows you to somehow get a little bit of surface area to warp in. Like if you take a look at the north of this command center over here, if you build a pylon here, you can actually warp in Dark Templars on the low ground. And that's just ridiculous because a lot of Terran players will put their missile turret in the front where the bunker is, and then suddenly it's like, hey, I've got DTs in my line. You know, how did that happen? That wasn't supposed to happen.
Well, having this Reaper now jump on in, and this wall has been constructed in such a way that would deny the Reaper from being able to get all the way back to the back of the mineral line.
I find this a very late Nexus. 4 minutes and 30 seconds. Of course, a lot of gas has been mined. So you open up with a Stalker and a Mothership Core, which almost gives me the idea that maybe he wants to do something with it, or he just wants to have a very quick start. No, it's going to be a Twilight console. Okay. I mean, this Nexus is a minute later than what it can be. You know, if you're very greedy and you don't probe scout, you can drop your Nexus at 3 minutes and 35 seconds. Instead, it was 4 minutes and 4 minutes and 30 seconds. That may not sound like a big deal, but if my Nexus is delayed for a minute, the Jimmies are rustled already, Jay.
And we're already seeing Marine Lord actually kind of taking preparations of having 3 barracks this early on, so he's going to have a lot of units out to greet something if it was being aggressive, one would say.
And I really like the 3 racks. I feel like it fell out of fashion for almost no reason.
Yeah.
It's, of course, a lot of Protoss players became, they're like, all right, we're always playing against this, so we're going to open up with a bunch of sentries, and then we're going to go up to Colossus quickly, and then 3 racks can't really achieve all that much. But then at a certain point, all the Terrans went for the Widowmine drops, so then Protoss players started switching it up again, and they play quite greedy, where they just have a few units, a photon overcharge and detection, but then suddenly, if you knock on their front door with 3 racks aggression, they often don't have the units that they need to deal with this. So I kind of like the 3 racks. I also feel 3 racks is a way for Terran to approach the matchup being, all right, I won't have super quick access to, you know, something that could potentially deal a lot of economic damage, but I will have a lot of units, so I won't die to anything silly. And I kind of feel, if you feel you're better than your opponent as a Terran, going 3 racks is always a smart thing to do.
Wow, how did this Reaper actually get on in there? Past the Stalkers, spots the Twilight Council, does its job it needs to. Also spotted the Robo for later on as well. So, well, for now, at least he's seen the majority of what he wants to see.
Yeah, and what's really nice about spotting the Robo is that the Robo kind of tells you that the Protoss is not going to go super all-out aggression. There is still a very realistic chance there will be quite a few Blink Stalkers trying to poke, trying to be annoying, but it's not a 6-gate all-in with no detection.
And this army is already positioned on the other side of this.
The side blockers, I like this a lot. DMC has to pay attention.
Oh, and he's not. He already loses himself 1 Stalker. Blink is not finished just yet, so a second one will fall.
That hurts so much, man. Losing 2 Stalkers before Blink is ready. Very smart by Marine Lord to put his forces there on the other side of that side blocker. I really like it.
Yeah.
That's just good use of the map.
Yeah, very rarely used as well in terms of just the foresight. But now he doesn't exactly realize that this attack is coming from another direction.
Yeah, but DMC has to be a little bit careful. Stim is not ready yet. This bunker won't finish up, but there are so many bioforces.
Oh, no.
He's almost trapped. He will be able to blink away for now, but he has to be very careful because if he makes a blink like that and Stim is finishing up, he can Stim forward. He's going to end up losing 2-3 more Stalkers. He made so many Stalkers, by the way. Oh my god.
And he's already going to be pushed back very, very quickly, and that was without Stim. Never mind with Stim now completing, so
wow,
difficult.
This is a horrible scenario. Like, I don't want to be super dramatic in game number 1 over here, but DMC is down 6 workers against the Terran at the 9-minute mark with absolutely no sign of him winning the game anytime soon. He's down 18 supply. His gases are late. Doesn't have a robotics bay. Oh man, he needs to do miracles with these Blink Stalkers. He needs to just dance around, dance back and forth somehow, some way, buy a ridiculous amount of time for himself. Because as soon as Marine Lord has 4 medevacs, this party is over, and Marino is going to walk across the map. He can leave a couple units at home, and I think he's just going to straight up win.
Yeah, with the Observer on the way now, he can try and maybe jump in, but you're totally right. He has to make sure that that stays alive. If it does go down, then this is just a catastrophe.
Yep, because this Observer will allow his Blink Stalkers to buy more time for him as well, time that he so desperately needs now. He's following this up with a Warp Prism too. It's kind of cool, but it's not as big as it can be in some scenarios. There's no Dark Shrine, there are no charge lots.
Yeah, a very aggressive start from our challenger here in this first game, who almost, in essence, tried to catch Marine Lord off guard, but at the moment it's not really looking that successful. He's going to have to fall back to plan B.
Man, when you open up with this many Stalkers and the unit's lost resource step shows that you've lost more than the Terran, you know you're in trouble. That's not the way it's supposed to be. Blink Stalkers early game, pretty much one of the most cost-effective units in the game. They're not supposed to die. Marine Lord, you know, use those side blockers so smart, but even after that, it just felt like DMC's plan wasn't really getting together. And I kind of feel, if you open up with that many Stalkers, you have to make a decision as Protoss. Either you go all in, or you transition immediately, but doing it half-half, making some Stalkers and cutting some economy, but still getting a Robo and stuff, is almost never worth it.
Hasn't used Stim just yet, but now he's going to throw it down as the Force Fields did try and split some of this up, but it's not going to be enough because the first Colossus isn't even out yet. Tries to use Time Warp as well to slow this down, but this is just going to be a massacre.
Yeah, I mean, DMC might survive here because of Photon Overcharge, and that first Colossus does show up, but oh my god, did he lose a lot. Lost all the Zealots, lost the Sentries, lost more than a handful of Stalkers, and ended up losing the Mothership Core as well. 8 Stalkers have died in this game. That's just ridiculous. Like 8 Blink Stalkers in an 11-minute game. This is a very nice way for Marine Lord to start this best of 5. Obviously, he's a little bit nervous as well. Yeah, Season 2 went great for me, but there's no guarantee that doesn't mean that I'm going to make it in Season 3. DMC, crazy Russian Protoss, not sure what to expect. And then, you know, 10, 11 minutes into this game, just everything is going the way that you hope. Everything is going according to plan. That's such a momentum boost.
So with DMC's setup here, with his extra gates going down and lack of forges, is this just him saying, to hell with it, I've got to go?
Yeah, exactly. I don't think that this was his plan all along. Early game, go for a 2-base Colossus attack, but he has no choice. He knows there is no way he's ever going to have enough units to spread himself thin over multiple locations and go up to 3 bases. So he's going to say, all right, it's do or die. You're Protoss or you're not, James.
Protoss or you're not. Trying to shut down a little bit of this harassment into the main base, and actually still 1 Zealot remains, so he's not doing too badly with it, but he needs to do a lot of economical damage to slow Marine Lord down if this 2 base is going to work.
So there are 2 Colossus, and the 3rd Colossus is even on the way, and there are no Vikings on the map, so even though this has been a phenomenal game for Marine Lord, and he's still up 20 supply, in a crazy world, I can see Protoss win this if he drops very good force fields. He needs a couple extra sentries, I feel. Otherwise, Marine Lord is going to set up a really sick concave. There we go. Wipes in a few more sentries. So far, this has been a great game for Marine Lord. But if these Colossus are well protected, I can actually see DMC maybe pulling this game out, and that would be ridiculous. That would be a very cheeky victory.
Well, he's found himself a lot of economical damage already towards his 3rd base, killing off some of the SCVs, and will push this command center away. In fact, he can even kill this command center.
He's going to kill all the SCVs, so now we're even on workers, but he still kind of needs to win the game because he has no forges, no follow-up. Don't lose the War Prism. I don't like this fight for Marine Lord. Upper ramp, a lot of force fields going down. 3 Colossus. Oh my god, DMC is turning this around.
Wow, with the 3rd Colossus on the way as well, especially, and now there's 2 Vikings out, but that's not going to be enough here. Against 3 Colossi, he needs a really, really good concave. He needs to fight on forwards, but the Colossi in the first attack didn't take any damage. More units are going to be warped in. Marine Lord is in a great, really, really grave spot.
The second part there went a lot better for Marine Lord. There's 1 observer. If he would be able to snipe it, those Wither Mines could have been very frustrating. A lot of Marauders though, and almost no Zealots at all. So these Colossus might still fall. And if the Colossus falls, Protoss will fall.
Oh, nice move with the Marauders to the front as well, helping out the Vikings. A great counter-offensive there by Marine Lord to seal that. He was so patient about actually taking that engagement.
Very smart, because running up that ramp, then things got a little bit dicey over there. He lost a lot, didn't really kill a whole lot. Lost a lot of SCVs, but he bought time for those Vikings. And even though 2 or 4 Vikings doesn't mean much, at least it's constant damage on the Colossus, which often forces Protoss to take a fight that you don't really want to take. And you can't really fight against 12, 14 Marauders if you have 0 Zealots. The Colossus are great, but you just need a couple Zealots to buffer.
And he saved the command center all the while with that. I guess the initial attack saved the command center because he had to turn DMC's attention. But there you go. GG. Game number 1 goes to Marine Lord. You said it perfectly. It was looking a tad dicey, but in the end, he did pull it out.
Pretty exciting game number 1 here, because the first 11 minutes, you kind of feel that Marine Lord is in absolute control of this game. There's almost nothing wrong, nothing going wrong for him, and then DMC goes for that kind of desperate 2-base attack because he has no choice. If he goes up to 3 bases in that point, he has no charge lots. He doesn't have the observers out on the map, and his army is already a lot smaller. So how are you going to defend multiple locations? if you're already behind. It's very difficult as Protoss, so he just went for it. And what the smart thing was that the War Prism kept Marine Lord on his side of the map, which allowed DMC's army to run across the map. Because often when you want to go for a 2-base attack, then suddenly 2 medevacs show up in your main, and you're just, oh. You know, like, am I going to do defensive warpins? No, because I kind of have to win the game here, so then you lose everything immediately. But that Prism allowed his army to march across the map. Then suddenly he got up that ramp, dropped a couple good force fields, killed all these Swedes. Like, is he actually doing this? There's like 2 Vikings and there are 3 Colossus. But then on a certain point, he just didn't have Zealots anymore, didn't have Sentries, and the Marauders were able to do some serious work.
Good stuff there by Marine Lord to be able to round out the first game, despite it being in that little shaky moment there. But DMC showed that, you know, he had a clear game plan of initially trying to poke around with Stalkers, and there was maybe the opportunity to transition. It was only the 3 gates worth of Stalkers, but you pointed it out very well. You know, having made so many of them at that point, it's quite the commitment if you lose a few.
Absolutely. I mean, he caught workers during that as well, because we looked at it, and the worker count was 41 SCVs against 35 probes. Now, that's not normal, you know. Protoss has Chronoboost. Protoss is supposed to be up a couple workers. So on that point is, you know, Protoss has got some economy, wants to do work, but Marine Lord, you know, really using the way that the map is designed, or the layout of the map, to his advantage, hiding behind that side blocker, getting 2 Stalker kills immediately, making sure that number doesn't really snowball. And I feel that DMC got a tiny bit unfortunate with the opening that Marine Lord went for. It's often like a guessing game, right? Like, does Terran go for Reaper into Command Center Low Ground Factory, or do they go 3 racks? And I think DMC's build would have been 100 times better against Factory, because then he has Stalkers at home, Photon overcharges, defense, kills the mine, runs across the map, and then there are maybe 6, 7, 8, 9 bio units. But against the 3 racks, there are so many bio units.
Yeah, definitely. All right, well, we're going to get into game number 2 now to find out who is going to be seizing the advantage, basically, of this series. Because if Marine Lord's able to go 2 up in a best of 5, he is going to be in a pretty spot. As we do have that man spawning down to the bottom right-hand corner. It is our red Terran. It is Marine Lord for Team Millennium. And then up to the top left-hand corner, we have our blue Protoss. It is DMC representing Team Cascade. And again, you've got to remember, this is the guy's first ever World Championship Series match. So there will be potential nerve factors. There will be, you know, him just trying to catch his opponent off guard and trying to seize the win that way. But on the other side, as we said at the very beginning of everything, he goes up against a guy that really proved himself in Season 2, really showed up for his country, for himself especially. You can't just, you know, put it on the fact that, yeah, he's from France, that's brilliant. He's legitimately a fantastic player in the European scene right now.
I really like that you bring it up, James, because it's something that we often forget as casters and sometimes even as fans, because we watch so much StarCraft. So on a certain point, you just consider all of them pros, and you don't really think about what's going through their mind. But for DMC, you know, I remember back in my days when I was a young, ambitious Warcraft nerd, if I had an online WC3L match, which was our most prestigious online match, and was just a clan league, like, my heart was racing. You know, it took me like 10, 15 tries in WC3L to really get over that and kind of play how I normally play. Yeah. And, you know, that was just... Well, I wouldn't say it was just for honor, because you could go for an offline finals and then your team could win money. But compared to what these guys are playing for, you know, basically making it Premier League is almost like $4,000 or $5,000. It's so much money.
Yeah, it is.
So obviously there's a good chance that DMC is indeed extremely nervous. But hopefully for him, he's able to keep it together. Something we can't possibly know.
Hopefully, hopefully. And then you think about DMC's position and then you think about the reverse. Marine Lord having come off a really fantastic Season 2 performance, having played, you know, technically, yeah, a lot online or whatever, but him having picked someone like DMC himself, I mean, that 3 racks before was like, okay, I know you're probably going to play something aggressive. I'm just going to play defensive, nice and stable, and taking that first victory how he did has got to give him some confidence, even more confidence than he probably had coming into this series.
It's a very late scout for DMC. I don't think he probe scouted in the previous game, correct? Because he just went for Mothership Core Expand. This time,
I don't think he did.
This time he does go for the regular Nexus, by the way, so it's down at 3 minutes and 40 seconds. That's a lot more common. Now, a lot of Protoss players have given up on scouting against Terran because 9 out of 10 times, well, maybe that's not necessarily true, but I know a few pros players that kind of given up because 9 out of 10 times is a Reaper, you know, Reaper sees your probe, pop, pop, probe dies, and you're like, well, great, I know that it goes Reaper. This really doesn't tell me anything. This would have been one of those rare moments where a probe scout would have been magnificent because he would have seen that Marine Lord is actually going for gas first, which means that he's going up to factory and starport before he drops at command center. So not a very economic build, but extremely aggressive.
Wow, and a nice little scout out of Marine Lord to finally find this probe, and if that probe was to go anywhere near the ramp now, it would be pretty much dead in 5 shots.
But even seeing that Marine is already a great tell, because you know normally there's not a Marine there. Normally there should be a Reaper poking on either your buildings, or a Reaper should be cruising around the map trying to find a hidden pylon. So I think DMC now already knows that he's playing against gas first, and now the question is just how is he going to deal with it?
Well, it looks like DMC is already starting himself out that Robo after the Nexus, so at least he'll be able to have an observer available to him if a Widow Mine or something like was to come along.
Yeah, but we actually see there's one mine and now there's a Hellion on the way, and I actually think sometimes, you know, Protoss players open up double observer. They send one observer across the map, they keep one observer at home to detect mines. But if there's then 6, 7 Marines, a medevac and 3 Hellions, you have so few units to actually deal with it. You pretty much need to pull all your probes to the Nexus with the Photon Overcharge. Otherwise, you just don't have the damage output. But for now, how many Hellions we're looking at? It's just, okay, it's already 2. Man, this could get tricky for DMC, especially if he has a lot of probes in his natural. So far, he doesn't have any. And if he keeps it like that, he's going to be more than fine. If he starts saturating the natural, I think that's where things get a little dicey.
Yeah, we've seen a lot of damage being done to those naturals if you kind of just spread yourself a little bit too thinly. Here comes the medevac, though. And there's already 2 Stalkers in place to do a little bit of damage. As long as DMC micros this properly, he should be okay. But the big change is the Widow Mine, as that's actually going to try and control the ramp.
Man, he's so cautious with his Photon Overcharge. He doesn't want to use it, but now his Stalkers start running solo on HP, so eventually he does use it. Gets a couple Marines. That was interesting. You saw how long he waited with that?
Yeah, very, very long indeed. Especially even when they were actually in range of the Photon Overcharge to try and deal with it.
Mine is going to shoot it. No. Okay, it's not going to shoot it. -4. So this bunker is going to finish up with 2 Marines in it.
That's annoying. Very annoying. Very rare that you actually see this. The SCV that was sent to scout.
Oh, man.
Uh-oh. But TMC's warping in on the other side of the... Oh, this game is going to get crazy.
I like it. I think this is quite smart because there is so low DPS in these 2 Marines and the Hellions. They're not really going to kill this Nexus at rapid speed. So DMC is just like, cool, then I'm just going to attack you on the other side of the map. And those 3 Stalkers, they are going to be extremely annoying. He has an Observer as well. Marine Lord is probably going to try to kill that Observer. He has to know that it's very important to kill it, but it's very tricky when it's on the edge like that.
Definitely SCVs have been pulled off the line as well here from Marine Lord. Crisis management will have to continue now. Heart race, the heart levels, the heart palpitation here, potential is going to be increasing as Marine Lord is still putting on pressure towards the Nexus. He knows if he can get it, it'd be fantastic, but he's still taking a lot of pressure here from the Stalkers.
Yeah, the Observer dies, so that means that these Stalkers are going to have a very hard time running up this ramp in the future because he was able to kill that mine right before it. I actually think this Nexus might die. Photon Overcharge is going to be available soon, but with 2 bunkers and the Hellions, I actually think there's a good chance that Nexus is going to die. But will Marine Lord die on the other side of the map?
Sacrifices a Stalker, does DMC to try and get up here as quickly as possible. He knows it's do or die now. The Nexus on the other side has gone down. More SCVs get pulled off the line. He's focusing down the Marines one at a time here to try and keep himself in this game. There's only 4 Marines against a few more Stalkers here. A good surround by the SCVs to try and shut them down. 4 remain. He's killing off a lot of workers here.
Yeah, he's killing a lot of workers. And he's also cancelled, of course, the command center on the low ground. So it's basically 1 base versus 1 base right now. We're back to Wings of Liberty, James.
Oh my god. A good micro as well for the most part. He's going to take a bit more damage, but more Stalkers from the low ground, actually, to try and help out the war effort here, knowing that the wall would be sealed. 17 workers to 28. DMC, what is going on? This is crazy.
Yeah, man, this is actually kind of hard to read, because indeed there is a small worker lead for DMC, but DMC doesn't have Blink, he doesn't have a Twilight, and he lost his Nexus. He killing 17 workers or 17 SCVs. Obviously, that's absolutely fantastic. But yeah, I kind of still like DMC's position, but it's hard to say because that command center is almost done again. He's going to be able to shoot at this Widow Mine from the low ground, but he shouldn't really be able to kill this bunker anytime soon. Does he know about it? He doesn't know about the Widow Mine in the main base. Can I take a look at the main base real quick?
There we go.
2.
And we have another 2 Widow Mines on the way with that as well, with actually just a few Marines in tow. He just needs to wait until Photon Overcharge is dissipated, and then he should be fine with that.
Slowly but steady, I'm starting to like this for Marine Lord. The longer DMC is going to be on one base, the rougher I think this is going to get for him.
Yeah, with the second command center finished up in the main,
Yeah.
you're right. It's really going to be a big difference maker. And he's going to come in now. He doesn't have energy for photon overcharge.
Oh, God. No,
Don't pull them all together. Oh, the 8 workers
Wow.
go down. Jeez.
Wow, that was 8? It didn't even look like 8.
Yeah, it didn't look like it initially.
No, it didn't look like he got the money shot there, right? Like there were a bunch of probes that were standing on top of the mine. Hiding in plain sight is the best spot, right? And then the mine actually went for the long distance shot. But still, 8 workers. Right now, DMC is 15 workers. That's sad.
Oh, he doesn't really want to underestimate this ramp's defense as well, because right outside the observer range is a tank. So have to be careful about going up this ramp.
I mean, he has to. There's no other way.
Yeah.
You can't play from 15 probes anymore. So it's do or die. Again, you're Protoss or you're not.
And Bunker is going to fall actually pretty rapidly here.
Wow.
Only one zealot's died so far. The Stalkers, if they could get up here and try and get towards the tank, it would be okay. But by that time, the SCVs are going to be able to buffer. Likewise with the Marines. That is it for DMC. He has very few units left at the front.
Wow, what great crisis management this game by Marine Lord. At a certain point, I really thought he was going to be dead after he lost the Widow Mines, and we're still 6 Stalkers, but pulled the right amount of SCVs, got a couple surrounds off. Of course, you can always look at it from 2 sides. Was it great SCV positioning by Marine Lord, or was it sloppy by DMC to get his Stalkers surrounded? You know, it's a dance between these 2 players, but at the end of the road, Marine Lord had better crisis management there and has himself in a very, very comfortable position now.
And even more so now, Marine Lord has to feel not only comfortable in this position right here against DMC, but also so comfortable in the series. You've just destroyed and thwarted a very aggressive push by your opponent after forcing them into a terrible situation. Marine Lord has to have really strong peace of mind.
Nah, he's in a great position right now. I'm sure that he was sweating a little bit, and he was probably already asking himself, oh God, why didn't I open gas first? Why do I open gas first? Why didn't I just go 3 racks? But he kept it together, and that was really impressive, because in a certain point, you know, most Terran players that will lose that command center and lose 17 SCVs, you could say, well, this is the beginning of the end. Could DMC have done something about the 2 Marines in those 2 bunkers? I kind of feel when he had Photon Overcharge, I think if he would have dropped the Photon Overcharge and then wiping 3 Zealots at home, keeping the Nexus alive would have been the better play. But instead he went for the kill. He's like, you know what? Okay, that's just... Things just go from bad to worse.
Yeah, this is a bit of a disaster, unfortunately, for DMC now. He pitted a lot of his hopes on previous aggression. Now it's true desperation mode here. To try and crush this defensive position is nigh on impossible. He's going to try anyway as the first tank gets focused down. Second one will as well, but the Stalkers melt away. GG. Game number 2 goes to Marine Lord in this starting best of 5 for Challenger. And now he's 1 game away, once again, from being back in Premier where he believes he truly belongs.
Yeah, so far so good for Marine Lord, just showing up today and just playing solid, man. Like game number 1, he did pretty much everything right. Game number 2, it definitely got a little bit sloppy.
Yeah.
But the way that he got himself out of that tricky position, that's very impressive. And perhaps that is the difference between a Premier League player and someone who normally plays in Challenger or go for StarCraft 2s. But it's not over yet, you know. It ain't over till the fat lady sings so.
That's true. We've seen more crazy things happen in these Challenger series, that's for sure. We've seen some wild comebacks. I mean, of course, you could kind of like look back into the archives of Season 1 and 2 here in WCS Challenger and think about things like Mana versus Hero Marine. Hero Marine is like this guy that we will eventually be actually seeing playing, and he's like one of the guardians of Challenger. He always gets here, but never quite gets to Premier, you know? DMC, it's his first time here. It's his first showing. He's going up against a really tough opponent and needs to now battle back.
I think it helped so much for Marine Lord, his confidence and his peace of mind as well, that he finally had that great, legitimate run in Premier League Season 2. Because finally it was not just talks, it was not just the casters saying Marine Lord is very good Terran, it was not just some of the other guys that stream say like, oh, I'm up against Marine Lord, he's very good.
Yeah.
Finally, as the results speak for it, you know, grabbed quite a bit of money there as well, quarterfinal space. Pretty royally, you know, so that's just so nice, and it really gives yourself a lot of comfort as a player, and so far he's definitely shown that in this series.
Yep, looking good, looking good. There were many times in the past, actually, if unless you can't cast your mind too far back behind Season 2, where Marine Lord would be making a lot of Challenger runs. And each time that he was there, unfortunately for him, didn't go quite his way.
Got 4GG and stuff.
Yeah, so it was a bit tough, a bit brutal. Although, yeah, you bring up 4GG, that series was fantastic. He really gave 4GG a run for his money in his matchup, basically.
That was one of the first times ever that Marine Lord started to get a lot of traction, right?
Yeah.
Because he displayed such a good series against 4GG, and everyone was basically like, oh man, it's such a shame he had to go up against 4G. Seems like he's a really good player. Seems like he's capable of making it into Premier. And well, it took a little while before he really showed that, but last season was really the season. The next map is going to be played on Iron Fortress, and that could already be the final map of our first best of 5 of the night. But don't worry, StarCraft fans, we got 4 more.
Oh yes, we have plenty of StarCraft on the way tonight. Good to be back to it, actually. I haven't myself done any StarCraft for a little while, but
You were missed in China, James.
Oh.
But did you see it that we brought you on the desk?
I saw that, and also I asked for it. Somebody's brought it back, and they're going to be giving me they're going to be giving me mini Kylaris, so
That's amazing.
I'm excited. All right, spawning up to the top left, we have indeed 2 games up in this best of 5. It is Mr. Marine Lord here in the red, representing Team Millennium. And up to the top right-hand corner, whoopsie daisy, there we go, we have our challenger. Needs to bring it back. Of course, the odds are against him, but it would always be fantastic to see more games here. It is indeed DMC for Team Cascade.
A little bit worried because Iron Fortress, I don't think it's the most Protoss-friendly map out there. The main base has a ridiculous amount of surface area, so this is not the type of map where you have one cannon and a High Templar late game and you can feed back and you think you're safe. You know, you pretty much always need to have units in position. And we haven't really seen DMC actually making it into the mid phase of the game, being stabilized and being in a position that, all right, you know, everything went standard so far, a little bit of harass, I got 2 Colossus out, I'm going to go up to 3 bases now and eventually get charged, good upgrades. We haven't seen him reach that phase of the game yet, so I have no idea how good he is when it comes to army positioning, splitting up his forces, and, you know, all the things that make or break a Protoss player against Terran.
Well, he's already sending his probe out very, very quickly to find where his opponent is on this 4-player map. Very important to make sure you know exactly where your opponents are. And we'll just be rallying it straight on in. And for him, luckily enough, getting that first scout is a big deal. I mean, Protoss technically have a lot of tricks up their sleeves if they want them. Does DMC do something like an Oracle play here? But even if he does, Marine Lord in the previous game actually had a very quick Widowmine set up in position. So if he were to do something like that, he'd have to be very careful.
He's going to spot the Rex, but the fact that there are no Marines standing on top of this ramp, he already knows enough now. He's like, all right, this is going to be a Reaper opening. I'm just going to get the hell out of here as quick as possible so I can keep this probe alive. Maybe give Marine Lord something to worry about. I feel that this is the same opening as he used in game number 1, where that Nexus again is going to be, you know, rather late. It's not extremely late, but 4 minutes, 25 seconds. So he makes a Nexus after a Stalker and a Mothership Core. And I'm not exactly sure why he does that, unless he just runs across the map and hopes the bunker isn't up yet.
Well, it'll give him a little bit of peace of mind, I guess, against the Reaper here, regardless of how he does it. And, oh, hits himself the gateway as well momentarily. But at least he's kept the Reaper away from the back of the mineral line. So, obviously, you know, that's a good place. Too high-tech, but not for sure just yet.
So Marine Lord, his follow-up is going to be a factory this time. That's different than what we saw in game number 1 on Terraform. And if DMC drops a quick Twilight and goes for another Blink Stalker attack, I think he's going to have a lot more success with it than he had in game number 1. I actually can see this working out rather well for him. Also, he also proxied, I believe, is that a Pine or a probe? No, he still has that probe on the south side. For a second I was worried it was going to be DTs, because I actually think just Blink Stalker play the way he did it on Terraform would go very well over here on Iron Fortress. Also because there's no ramp in the natural, right? Iron Fortress has this unique design, kind of like Terraform in a way that you don't have to poke up a ramp. You don't need high ground vision to start fighting. So I can see Blink Stalkers, you know, being rather aggressive. I can see this go well for DMC.
And at the moment, doesn't know where this Reaper is. It's going to jump in and get confirmation. Potentially, that Stalker!
He should have blocked.
Oh my god, if that had been able to... If DMC had quickly blocked with that would have been the play already of WCS EU Challenger, but sadly, not the case.
Nope. So Marine Lord knows right now there are 3 gateways. He saw the Twilight. Did not spot the Robo yet. DMC is going to get a Robo once again, but we saw how he played Terraform. It was very low economy and a lot of Stalkers. If he does the exact same thing this time, and he doesn't take crazy damage from the first Widowmine drop, I really see this just go so much better for him. I know I've said it a couple times now, but I really believe it. I really believe it, James.
I get you, man. You've got to put these things into perspective, and I kind of have to agree. You know, he's chrono boosting into that blink. He's going to have that out nice and quick, and these Stalkers will be able to plow on out because the pylons could potentially be very, very close with this probe hadn't been gone undetected.
Like, I feel if you open up like this and your name is DMC, you're hoping to deal with a Widowmine drop. You're going to get your first Observer just in time. You're going to shut it down, hopefully not take too much damage. I like what Marine Lord is doing over here. He's doing this very different than what he did on... actually, no, the Coda was completely different, never mind. But I think it's very smart that he doesn't bring the 6 Marines, because then he ends up maybe losing that medevac, losing those Marines as well, and then he really has no units at home. But now he will still force a small reaction because of this Widowmine drop, but he keeps the majority of his units at home. So I think this is very smart by Marine Lord.
Already denying some minerals from being lost there, and he's just going to sacrifice himself. The one at Pro.
Oh, but no!
No! Oh my god.
Well, that could have been worse. I felt that one Widowmine didn't splash on the other Stalkers.
Yeah.
Man, this cry. What a crazy Protoss we're watching over here, James. I can't believe he just did that.
Well, desperate times call for desperate measures. The Marines are going to try and focus down these Stalkers, and actually there's a few Marines left on over with the SCVs trying to chase this off, and he keeps on dancing around here. He gets himself a few SCVs, but surely these Stalkers are all supposed to die.
That was the absolute last thing I really expected.
Oh my God.
We thought we could see. He just blinked past everything. Just blinked into the high ground immediately, but we'll end up losing the majority of his Stalkers. He's dealing economic damage. 11 SCVs, yeah, that's nice, but losing this many Stalkers, I don't think it's very good. Unless he gets more, he has to continue the aggression, in my opinion.
Yeah, that was insane. And the Widowmine once again is about to recharge here in the mineral line. Does he never made? His observer's here, but it's
look at all the probes he's transferring. Oh, don't.
Oh, okay, no. Yeah. Oh, and he actually
got
lost
lucky
one.
then. Yeah.
Well, aggression continues on here with the Stalkers, but the SCVs are going to be able to repair this bunker quite quickly, and I'm not sure 5 Stalkers is going to be enough to break that.
He just lost another Stalker as well. Completely unnecessary to lose a Stalker against a bunch of Marines in a bunker. That's just something that's not supposed to happen. Every Stalker could make the difference between things snowballing or not.
And actually just moving forwards once again. Good blink control will save a few of these as they do get weakened down by the Marines that are here, killing himself a few SCVs, but he has to get more because there's 3 Widowmines on the way.
Yep, and also he still doesn't really have a plan behind this right there. Even in workers, that's just not good for Protoss. The only thing is that Stim is ridiculously late. Like, I don't think he
Oh my god, 12 workers go down, wasn't reacting in time. The photon overcharge goes after all of them have popped, but it's not really doing anything.
I mean, the only thing, like I said, is I think that's good for DMC is the fact that there's still no stim on the way. So he does have a lot of wiggle room, but losing 12 workers, that's deadly. He's been working so hard with these Stalkers, trying to create some sort of a worker advantage, and 2 mines, boom, and you know, all your efforts go up in vain.
All right, we'll be able to clean this up at least just before that one was recharging in terms of its shots. So the medevac gets away at least. So the Stalkers, for now, just going to have to buy time and allow the transition on from DMC behind this. But at the moment, I mean, what does he really do?
Spoking again. He's trying. You got a Marauder there. That's kind of nice. You want to keep the Marauder count low, so these Stalker numbers will keep being very scary. And even though Marine Lord is up 7-8 workers, there are also 7 or 8 workers hugging that bunker because he knows he can't afford to lose it. The moment he loses that bunker, these Stalkers are going to have a field day, especially because Stim still nowhere near done. Another Widowmine drop in the natural. Didn't kill that much this time. Killed 4 workers. The medevac died as well, so this wasn't too bad, but DMC is just not in position. I think he's going to go for another high ground blink.
Oh, and he focuses 2 of them, Widowmine's down. One of them actually managed to get a shot off, but still gets it. And going for the tech lab, gets himself stim. That's a big, big pickup there. And even combat shields.
This could actually be a game-winning move. He gets another Marauder. Marine Lord, you need to pull pretty much all of your SCVs right now, not just a few, because you really don't have that much DPS over here. One more Marauder pops. That's going to be very nice. I think this time the blink was pretty cool, and I felt it was more successful kill than medevac, man. It has like 1 HP.
Well, for all of that, he gets himself 9 workers, a few kills, and as you said, he did slow down Stim.
2 tech like slow down Stim. Like this is the game where Marine Lord is never going to get Stim, guys.
It's ridiculous.
Like this is we're 13 minutes in and there is no tech lab researching Stim.
Another command center starts up behind this. Marine Lord, even though he doesn't have the stim on the way at the moment, he feels comfortable enough to get the 3rd command center, keep on rolling with the punches, and at least he still has a lot of production. I mean, technically it is kind of stifled a little bit because he needs to add on those tech labs again, but still has a few units coming out. He needs to keep the bunker repaired.
Yeah, and he's doing a good job in that. And like you said, another command center is eventually going to put him in a good economic position. But it's really frustrating as a Terran player when you just have no ability to be aggressive anytime soon. I think DMC is going to, well, if he gets 3 more Stalkers here, I think he's going to try to blink again on the high ground. But Marine Lord scans, very smart, and picked up the Observer. He's like, man, you're crazy. I ain't letting you do that again.
No. Get away from me.
Bunker!
Repair. Oh, okay, it goes down, but at the same time, a lot of these Stalkers are very, very low on health. Widowmines again.
No, oh,
Wait.
God,
Oh,
6.
6 workers again go down.
Oh, and he's not paying attention.
Oh, he lost so many Stalkers during all of that.
He wasn't paying attention to his Stalkers. He thought Marino would back off after losing that bunker, but Marino just went for it. Stim or no Stim, he didn't care. These Stalkers should be able to intercept the meta. No, careful though.
Don't want to go anywhere near this army now. I mean, army supply-wise, 46 against 21 with a big, economy advantage with that 3rd command center now about to finish up here for Marine Lord.
28 Stalkers have died already in this game, James.
Jeez.
Well, make that 29.
That's quite a lot.
Rip the final Stalker. That's just not very often do you see a game where Proto loses 29 Stalkers and was actually in a pretty okay position for the longest time. I think up to this point where Marine Lord again, and that's the good thing about Marine Lord, despite being under so much pressure, he's still thinking aggressively. And I think that's so smart because you force your opponent to look at home. No Protoss in his right mind will ever not look at a medevac that's dropping 2 Wither Mines into your natural. Oh my god, 3 more Stalkers just died in the middle of the map.
Oh, they did?
Yeah,
Oh, dear.
well, 2. 3.
Now 3.
He misrallied them and they were dropping around. So now 32 Stalkers have died. Another Widowmine drop in the natural as well. He's not reacting.
Oh, and he also spotted the Colossi as well with this. That means that he can start his Widow Viking production if he needs to. He already went up to my 5 medevacs. I was expecting him to start it before, but getting the 6th and 7th medevac out now, and he's just looking in an aggressive posture.
This was a really cool game, but I feel we're closing in on the end right now. DMC has just lost too much. He has almost lost as many probes as he has lost Stalkers, and if the numbers are low, that's a good thing, but they're not. They're both very high. They're both edging in the 30s. Marine Lord stabilizing now on 3 bases, having a worker lead, having a stronger army. He's just going to fight these Colossus head on because there are almost no Zealots either, so he's just like, I don't care. I can just stim forward. He's going to drop the Mew as well.
Oh, and the Colossi are going to get focused down. GG, Marine Lord takes the first best of 5 of the day. 3-0 here, and really asserts his dominance to start things, pushing him forwards to another Premier placement. And looking to do as well as he did, if not better, than last season.
Absolutely. I mean, he wants to make another good run. And I do feel that the 3-0 score is a little bit deceiving. Because game number 2, there were definitely moments where, you know, we both watch a lot of StarCraft. And it's just like, how is this going to go? Like, you know, it's crazy. And it all comes up to crisis management. And even in game number 3, like that first blink, I was losing my mind. I can't believe he just did that. And the Wither Mines on the high ground were so smart by Marine Lord. But then later on, he did it again. And it went a lot better because he blinked and he killed the 2 mines immediately. Lost the Observer because the second mine did shoot. And he did some serious work. Like 14, 15 minutes, no stim, and it kind of looked like maybe things were swinging into DMC's favor because he was going up to Colossus. But then again, Marine Lord showing that he's such a good player. No matter under how much pressure he is, he's still dropping, and that's just the most important thing. Because in that moment, DMC looks at his natural, Widowmine, Photon Overcharge, looks on the other side of the map, loses 5 more Stalkers, and then the entire potential of that Stalker ball is just gone.
Yeah, that's very, very true. So congratulations to Marine Lord here as France already puts a W on the board. And that means we are going to go to a short break, ladies and gentlemen. And when we're back, we're going to start to see if Team Liquid can have a successful Season 3 beginning as they did in Season 2. It will indeed be Mana going up against Happy.